radio is broadcast on LSL Podcast Channel. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to the channel.
You are listening to the Laura Ingraham Show, 855-40-LAURA. You think about what the left did to relish the moment of criticism and destruction when these women came out all these years ago and accused conservatives of, sexual harassment, inappropriate language, wasn't even touching, inappropriate language, or obviously O'Reilly, Roger Ailes. You think the left enjoys those moments? You bet they do. And now we have one of the preeminent left-wing voices in the entertainment industry. And Harvey Weinstein and his brother, of course, founded one of the most successful production companies in Hollywood history. And now this bombshell that was published in the New York Times about decades of harassment on the part of Weinstein. And the New York Times published a story that was very specific, including comments from people like Ashley Judd and others that, basically he demanded or asked for certain sexual favors from women in order to get ahead in the business.
This kind of vitriol is unexplained otherwise.
So, lawyers for Weinstein said they're going to file suit against the New York Times. Good luck with that. His behavior allegedly frequently fit a pattern. A young woman would be told to meet Weinstein at a luxury hotel for a business purpose, and then he would use the encounter to make sexual advances. 8 women who spoke for the story said he greeted them in the nude. Ooh. Or asked for a massage or to watch him shower. The accusations against Weinstein span several decades and come from big-name stars to employees at the lowest rungs of his vaunted production company. Ashley Judd said he asked that she meet him at the Peninsula Hotel in Beverly Hills and used the occasion to ask her to give him a massage. 2015, a model, Ambra Battaliana, accused him of groping her in the office, and the Manhattan District Attorney decided not to pursue the case, however. I find the double standard from the left on this to be not surprising. Yeah, the New York Times printed it. They had to. New York Times printed this piece. But are we going to shut down all of his films now? Are we going to demand that he never work again? Are we going to demand that he be drummed out of Hollywood filmmaking forever? Is that what the left is going to do? Because that's what they try to do with O'Reilly, and Roger Ailes is now dead. And I'll tell you, never accused Roger Ailes of anything like this. Nothing. Now, I have no personal knowledge of what happened, what didn't happen. But just on the mere accusation alone, the level of depravity in the accusation from what they said about Ailes to what they say here, there's no comparison. Harvey Weinstein is like physically touching people. And not just that, but demanding massages. None of that. So, look, I'm not going to go into this to a great extent, but we know what the so-called feminists really believe. They believe that if you have the right political views, your personal behavior can be excused, and not only can be excused, is. Because I have been hearing about this behavior. I've been hearing about it since about 1998. I pinpointed it in my mind earlier today. I happen to have a lot of friends who are in the business, in the entertainment industry, and a lot of them are very quiet. They don't want anyone to know they're friends with me. But one of my dear friends knew him and worked with him. And this story, when it was on the New York Times, in the New York Times yesterday, you know what my first reaction was? I can't believe it took this long. Because Hollywood was complicit in covering this up for many years. Oh, absolutely complicit. Well, they knew what was going on. And look, it's not just him. This is what happens, daily in the entertainment industry. But they're going to be all high and mighty about Trump, right? They're going to be, the Billy Bush tapes. How can you do this? He's criticizing Colin Kaepernick, a man of great moral courage. Now, they love to trash the morality of whether it's the Tea Party or Trump or Ailes or O'Reilly. But this is coming from an industry that is steeped in it, both what they put on the screen or produce in music, put up on a billboard, or how some of the top executives in the entertainment industry treat people and treat women in particular. This is not new. This is not surprising. I will repeat, when I saw it yesterday, I thought to myself, I can't believe it took this long. I'd been hearing about this with as it related to 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds. And not just in L.A. and Colorado. I mean, I didn't hear about this. Like, no, did I know the victims? No. But when you're 17, 18, 19, and Harvey Weinstein wants to meet with you, and you're an aspiring actress, you're like, wow, that's great. Maybe he's going to pick me for a movie, or these are predators. This is a predator. If this is true, allegations are all allegations. But I also believe that, so these are like, Ashley Judd's a grown woman. So now she decides to speak out. She's also a big leftist. I do wonder why they decided to speak out now. That's an interesting question. Why now? What about it now? And the aspiring journalists, really ambitious journalists, could have printed this story 20 years ago, at least 20 years ago. But they didn't. I don't know why now. But do you guys see the double standard here? Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad. Hillary good. Look at what Bill did. I mean, again, it's a Bill Clinton, excuse him. He was in the Oval Office. Another young person, of course, 22 years old. He's in the Oval Office. They excuse that. Of course they're going to excuse a Hollywood mogul like Weinstein, who supported the Clintons, best friends with the Clintons, probably vacation with the Clintons, and who has all the right political views.
What about Roman Polanski, and what about Woody Allen and those guys who are praised in Hollywood as being so great? And Roman Polanski did the same thing. Woody Allen with his own adopted daughter. I mean, it's disgusting. Well,
I will say that the double standard screams out to be recognized and, frankly, exposed. So when I hear this crowd ridiculing Trump or trashing Trump, how could you do this to women? Because he said something, of course. Well, you can criticize Trump, as I did, about that Billy Bush tape. At the same time, you can say, okay, those who live in glass houses, don't be throwing stones at me. And these stories are actually, frankly, too gross to even read on the radio. It's gross. Really gross. But he issued a sort of, he said, I came of age in the 60s and 70s when all the rules about behavior in workplaces were different. That was the culture then. I have since learned it's not an excuse in the office or out of it to anyone. I realized some time ago that I needed to be a better person, and my interactions with the people I work with have changed. I appreciate the way I've behaved with colleagues in the past has caused a lot of pain, and I sincerely apologize for it. I'm trying to do better. I know I have a long way to go. That's my commitment. My journey now will be to learn about myself and conquer my demons, he said. Trust me, this isn't an overnight process. I've been trying to do this for 10 years. This is a wake-up call. I cannot be more remorseful about the people I hurt, and I plan to do right by all of them. I'm going to need a place to channel that anger, so I've decided that I'm going to give the NRA my full attention. What? This is a joke, right? This Weinstein statement. This is actually real? I thought my staff was joking with me. This is in his apology for sexually harassing women and asking them to massage him and watch him shower. He writes, I hope Wayne LaPierre will enjoy his retirement party. See, he will be forgiven his sins if he takes on the NRA. This is what feminism is today. I'm going to do it at the same place I had my bar mitzvah. I'm making a movie about our president. Perhaps we can make it a joint retirement party. Is this really real? Are you guys pulling my leg on this statement? I'm making a movie about our president. 1 year ago, I began organizing a $5 million foundation to give scholarships to women directors at USC. While this might seem coincidental, oh no, I'm sure you didn't know this story was coming out. It has been in the works for a year. You've been in the works for about 30 years doing this to women. It will be named after my mom, and I won't disappoint her. 855-40-LAURA. Do you believe there is a double standard with the way the elites in politics, entertainment industry, and business treat women, get away with it, and what does that tell you about the great moral courage they claim to have vis-a-vis our president? Harvey Weinstein seeks forgiveness, the expiation of his sins, by going after Wayne LaPierre. And let's not forget his films, Kill Bill, and so many other disgusting, gross films. I mean, come on. So he's now the paragon of virtue, and he's going to take on the NRA. Oh, that's original. What an original idea. Hollywood really is fresh out of ideas. They've been taking on Wayne LaPierre, and he's been dealing with them, and the NRA has been dealing with these leftists since I've been in politics, since I first interviewed Charlton Heston in 1985. That's how long this has been going on, just on the NRA front. We'll take a break. 855-40-LAURA. Weinstein exposed. Well, after it looks like he exposed himself. Equifax recently announced a breach of 143 million identities, and you need to take steps to get protection. Be among the millions who trust their identity protection to LifeLock. LifeLock uses proprietary technology to detect if your personal info is being used by thieves for a range of threats to your identity. From your info appearing on the dark web to payday loans in your name or any number of other threats. And if there's a problem, one of their identity restoration agents will work to fix it. They know the steps to take and the calls to make to resolve problems as quickly as possible. No one can prevent all ID theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses. But rest assured that LifeLock has been helping people come out on the bright side of identity theft for over a decade. Starting at just $9.99 plus applicable taxes, get 10% off by using promo code LAURA, and you need to take steps to get protection. That's 1-800-LifeLock, or go to lifelock.com. Always mention Laura. That's Laura for 10. That's Wayne LaPierre of course, the NRA. The NRA is now being targeted by that paragon of morality, Harvey Weinstein, who it looks like he's paid out 8 settlements to 8 different women. Can you imagine how many are going to come out of the woodwork now? 8 different women who claim inappropriate behavior. And the inappropriate behavior is it's lurid stuff, really lurid. I mean, this is beyond depraved. I'm sorry. So he says, look, he's working on his issues. We all have issues, and I'm not casting stones. Anyway, everyone has issues. He's working on his issues, but in the meantime, he's going after the NRA. And think about the films that Harvey Weinstein has produced over the years. Some of the most twisted, violent films. And, we mentioned Kill Bill and, of course, Jane Got a Gun, The Hateful Eight, Rambo, Kill Shot. I love Rambo. Gangs of New York. Hey, you're not hunting him. He's hunting you. Remember Richard Crenna? He's up in the mountains. They're trying to get Rambo down, right? It's one guy and it's like 500 commandos. And Stallone's up there in the mountaintop. They're like, How many body bags do you have? Like, you need them for you, not one. He's going to take you all out. I'm sorry, I loved Rambo. First Blood, Rambo. Oof. Those are good. Good old 80s. The bad guys are the bad guys. The good guys are the good guys. I loved Rambo. I'm sorry, call me militaristic. I loved Rambo. Let's go to Ryan in Texas. Ryan, I look back on all those great 80s films. I like them. Also like the Bruce Lee films. Year of the Dragon,
Death Wish,
the
Charles Bronson.
the early Seagal films, the Steven Seagal films. Those are great. That's not a girl. That's not a chick flick. I love those. I was in law school at the time. I love those films. Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, what my comment would be is I'm with you. I think there's a huge double standard with the media in Hollywood. Also, it's kind of convenient when we have our most questions about Las Vegas. These things just pop up. Yeah.
Well, he's one of the largest Hollywood donors to the Clintons. Well, he wasn't bothered by what Bill Clinton did to Monica or all the other things, Kathleen Willey or Juanita Broderick. That didn't bother Weinstein. Doesn't bother any of these Hollywood people, because if you're a liberal, you get away with it. Maybe you have to pay out some settlements, but you're not going to be drummed out of town. I drummed on him. What's ever happened to Michael Richards? Remember he had his comment. Did he use the N-word or something?
Yep. He used the N-bomb on stage.
Has he ever come back after that?
I think he did one show briefly that got canceled, and that's about it.
Look what they did to Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson, I mean, he had to claw his way back into Hollywood. One of the greatest filmmakers of all time, one of the greatest actors of all time. I mean, they just make the conservatives bleed for forgiveness. Okay, Weinstein's just going to have to write one letter and target the NRA. I think the NRA's memberships are skyrocketing, by the way. That's what I heard yesterday. They're skyrocketing. By the way, try to buy a bump stock. Impossible. Online, you can't buy one now. They're either out or they're way expensive. No, they're helping the bump stock business. 855-40-LAURA. We'll get to all your calls on this and a lot more. Andy McCarthy's going to join us about... we have a lot of things we're going to talk about with him. Don't go away. Never thought about Hillsdale College in terms of its effect on K through 12 education. Well, they're having a big effect on K through 12 education. I'm going to tell you how they're doing it. They have founded more than now, I guess it's 12 charter schools nationwide, and they have more opening every year. And what they do with these schools is they provide curricula, train the faculty, they offer support, advice, and by the way, they don't take a penny for doing this. They do it for free. This is called the Barney Charter School Initiative, and it's funded entirely by donors to Hillsdale College. So we already know that Hillsdale provides a great undergraduate education. It's a cut above the rest, and young adults who understand the importance of character, civic pride, a real historical grounding, the greatness of America. But now they're impacting K through 12 education too. This is great. I want you to learn more about this. It's so fascinating, and it's inspiring to me because we need this in the public schools. We need this in charter schools. Just go to lauraforhillsdale.com. There was not a dry eye near the president when he spoke in Las Vegas about how human suffering can also, of course, deliver us great sacrifice and inspiration and goodness. It's hard to contemplate. It is hard to contemplate how a 64-year-old man acting alone, as they say, could have carried out this attack in Las Vegas. Perhaps was planning other attacks similar to this. Now, we can talk about how the crime scene looks odd, or how they selectively leaked photos, or how they were too quick to rule out an accomplice. We can talk about all that. But what the president was talking about there was that it is heart-wrenching, but that it is at the same time very heartwarming to see, through struggles and through deep personal devastation, comes the great wonder of, and oftentimes it's Christian sacrifice. They weren't all Christians there, but most of them were. And the problem of pain that we deal with in our lives, how we deal with it speaks volumes about us, our family, how we were raised. And we've seen a lot of that in the recent days. Of course, a lot of people focusing on the young man who was shot in the calf, who is in extreme pain. He's fine. He's going to be fine, but he stood up. He would not be in a bed while the president of the United States came into his hospital room, and he against the doctors who told him not to stand, he said, "I'm going to stand. I show respect." I talked about respect at my convention speech, how we've lost respect for the police, teachers, parents, adults, tradition, and that there's a great yearning, I think, to bring back the traditions that are being, well, either phased out or I think in many ways just trashed. It's trash. Tradition's trashed because they don't include everyone. Joining us now for reflections on what has been a very difficult week, historian, author, great friend of this program, Craig Shirley, the author of the new bestseller, Citizen Newt, which has been up on our website, of course, and lauraingraham.com. It's a terrific history of how the leadership of Newt Gingrich really changed America, and it needed now more than ever. Craig, great to talk to you. How are you?
Hi, Laura. How are you? Congratulations. Good luck on the book.
Thank you. You were supposed to get your copy. I don't know if you did. Did you ever get your copy?
No, but I'm sure it's in the mail.
It's coming. Hey, Craig, I just got my copy yesterday, my first copy. I was like, I'm going to my book tour. I don't have my book.
I know. Isn't it interesting how people will say to you, well, just send me a free copy, like you're a butcher and they give you free samples.
Yeah. I'm right there.
I have to pay for my own books, too.
Right.
You know?
And but the best is I'm leaving for my book tour. I don't even have my book. I have no book. So I just got it yesterday.
Been there, too. It'll show up.
Exactly. No, it's on its way to you. Craig, I have been watching very closely the commentary about Las Vegas, and this follows the commentary about Puerto Rico. I actually happen to have a few friends in the Las Vegas Police Department, homicide detectives and just retired homicide detectives. And they two different people, two different times over the last 48 hours said to me, number one, the president's trip was extremely well received, contrary to what you're hearing in the media, and that people are, while they're on edge, there's so much goodness coming from sheer horror that it brings people to tears. It really does.
Well, I couldn't agree more. I think there's a great struggle going on in this country right now, and there has been for a long time over, what this country stands for and the spirituality of this country that we used to have. It wasn't too long ago that presidents, FDR, Reagan, others, freely invoked Judeo-Christian values. Today, it's hard to find political leaders. One thing I've been thinking about a lot, and I know you have too, is that we talk about the root causes of problems, unless it's uncomfortable for liberals, and maybe the root cause is the loss of spirituality in our daily life. That we used to have so freely, in public schools and in public places and in government, and that's been driven out by liberals over the past many years. So that all the virtues of Judeo-Christianity, of goodness and sacrifice and love of your fellow man, all those things have been driven out of the public arena. So we're just left with just bodies instead of spiritual individuals.
And I think that when you see how the country over the last really 50 years. Since
Madalyn Murray O'Hair, since 64. Yeah.
So 53 years.
Yeah.
We have changed so radically in a variety of ways. Obviously, the makeup of the country has changed. The traditions of the country have come under attack. What used to have prayer in school, Supreme Court said, no, you can't do that. And I think
liberals even fought voluntary prayer in school. They advocate for situational free speech, but even when it came to voluntary prayer in school or even a moment of silence, they fought against that, because anything that introduces the notion that there's another power center besides Washington is fought tooth and nail by liberals.
Right, exactly. And I think that today we hear about a man who had apparently no faith. He had, they say, which seems odd, had no political beliefs. Buchanan yesterday on the show described him as an empty soul, no soul, soulless.
Yes. Nothing.
But without family, he had no family. He had a brother who never saw him, hadn't seen him in 15 years or whatever.
Right.
So he had no family, no faith, and he was in front of machines most of the day, video poker machines.
Well, this is the type of society we've created, isn't it?
Isolating. Connected but isolated. That's what I noticed. Even neighbors, Craig. Remember growing up, like neighbors, like when my mother would waitress, she would be home late on Wednesdays.
Right.
And my neighbor just stepped in and said, "Look, you can leave Laura with us for every Wednesday because I know you have to work."
Well,
right?
Our neighbors disciplined us.
Right.
You know, if we got out of line, you know, they'd discipline us, or they'd say, "I'm going to tell your father," and then they'd pick up the phone and they'd call your father, or they'd pick up the phone, "I'm going to tell your mother." You know, it took a village, but it was a different way. It wasn't mandated. It was simply something that came out of our Judeo-Christian heritage and our values and our sympathies.
And I think when you look back at a lot of these mass killers, and some of them, culling through the motives, and it's hard, but most of them have a daddy issue. Most of them have something.
Very much so.
Yeah, something with their fathers went terribly awry, especially with men.
Or the fathers just weren't there,
or not there. Not present at all.
Yes.
Craig, what do you make of the current state of politics today? We were talking earlier about the entertainment icon Harvey Weinstein, of course, big friend of the Clintons, bankrolled a lot of the, he's now he's like paying out settlements left and right to women, sexually harass them.
It wasn't one or two women. It was apparently dozens of women over many, many years.
Yeah, including really famous ones.
And he's been paying out settlements for years. I'm surprised he was able to keep a lid on it this long. But this will not stop liberals from going to him for fundraising. Look, liberals didn't stop associating with Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Why would they stop associating with Harvey Weinstein?
No, but the double standard is it's so ridiculous from what they did to Ailes and of course O'Reilly. Whatever people think of Fox or either of those two people, I mean, what Weinstein was accused of and what Bill Clinton did, these are physical acts.
Sure, and you would think, how can liberals associate with men who sexually harass women, which are an important part of the coalition? And the answer is they will associate anybody who advance them power. That's the bottom line is that liberals are always about power. So they will, it might upset women that Bill Clinton did something, but as long as he advances their cause of power, they will associate with him.
This is what was said this morning on MSNBC, a supposed Republican speaking about a Republican president.
For people that are outraged, your outrage should all be channeled towards the President of the United States because he lacks any humanity and he is the most graceless president to be in the Oval Office. He's utterly devoid of humanity or grace.
Well, first of all, I thought Joe left the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Good point. But since when is all rage aimed at the president? In a federalism belief is that first of all it should be within ourselves, should be within the individual, should be in our community, should be directed at many things and many people, but certainly not just at the President of the United States. And he didn't explain why all this rage should be directed at the President of the United States.
No, and I have to also point out that, again, the commentators in the media, and he's gone way left, Scarborough, the commentators think that conversation, elections, choices all come out of a vacuum. They don't seem to understand that Americans who voted for Trump did so knowing he was going to be a different type of leader. He wasn't schooled in the political niceties.
Day one. There's no doubt. This is, you might agree with Trump, you might disagree with Trump, you might agree partially with Trump, but this election was as clear as any election has been since maybe 1980. Bill Clinton tried to fool people by saying taxes were premiums and New Democrat and all these other euphemisms for what he really meant. And same with Barack Obama. But Donald Trump was as precise and clear and blunt as any candidate, as any nominee has been in a long time.
And they knew that he was going to be brash and probably respond to criticism that he shouldn't, because that's what he did all campaign. It's like they're acting like when Trump tweets about something, like, oh, I can't believe he's tweeting. You know what I say every day that passes? I can't believe he didn't tweet today. Like, I say the opposite. Like, wow, I can't believe he didn't respond to that. But of course he's going to. He's Trump. Okay, that's who he is. That's who the people said, you all have screwed us over to such a hideous extent that we're going to put this guy in office who has no political experience, who's like a bull in a china shop, and who's going to try to wreck what you've done to try to rebuild it. That's how mad we are. And Scarborough and Mika don't get it.
The other side of the equation is not just how controversial Donald Trump is, but how bad could Hillary Clinton have been to have lost? Right. I'm constantly amazed by the conversation on MSNBC talking about the Republican Party like it's 1974 and it's ready to die. And I look at the landscape and say, wait a minute, Republicans control everything. Shouldn't the conversation be about how dysfunctional and discredited and how out of touch the Democratic Party is? And it's not just the White House, it's not just the House, it's not just the Senate, it's governorships and state legislatures and dog catchers. Is that every place you turn around is that Republicans hold office in this country. So what is wrong with the Democratic Party? If the Republicans are so bad, then what must the Democrats be?
Hey, Craig, this is kind of awkward to ask you this on air, but because I'm going to say what's on my mind. Will you come on my TV show?
Are you kidding? I'm there in a heartbeat. Are you kidding? I'd love to.
Oh, you better.
Yeah, of course. I'm there in a heartbeat.
All right, will you be my resident historian? So when I have one of those questions, okay, wait a second. Taft, did he really die in a bathtub? Will you be able to answer those questions?
No, he died of eating a ham
I
sandwich.
know. That's what my kids are learning. Well, the Taft was so fat that that's what Dimitri came up to me yesterday. I said, this is all they learn about our presidents. The Taft was so fat they got stuck in the bathtub once. That's all they learn about. It's ridiculous. So I said, we got to get Uncle Craig to give us some real information here.
Some real history.
But I can't wait to have you come on. You're such a great
Taft
guest.
He's the only president to serve in all three branches.
Oh, okay. See, this is why Craig Shirley is going to be on the Ingraham Angle as our resident historian. Okay.
There you go.
I've already asked you to be on the show, and you said yes. So now this is like going to the junior prom. You can't say no. And when I call you now, I have to say you can't say no. That would be really embarrassing.
I can't call in sick at the last minute.
Oh, great! But I have the tape now, so now I can really make you feel bad when you cancel on me.
I'm flattered you would ask.
Now, what'll be fun? We're gonna have a great time as we do on the radio. Craig Shirley, have a great weekend. Give my love to the fam, and we'll talk to you real soon. Author of Citizen Newt, fantastic book. What a great writer and a great man. Craig Shirley, stay with us. You know that Fearless Girl statue they have at Wall Street? It's that girl who has the hands on her hips, and it's like defiant little girl who's like, I'm going to be treated just like everyone else. Well, it turns out that the people who made this statue actually filed suit because the female workers who worked on the statue were paid considerably less than their male counterparts. And they actually came to it was $5 million more than the 300 women and 15 black employees. So that's how much. $5 million settlement was the ultimate tab on this. Unbelievable. This was just embarrassing. This was an embarrassing display. And who are these young ladies? My goodness. They say that Rex Tillerson had to come out and say all these nice things about the president because the president was so infuriated at him the other day. This is a report that the Secretary of State had to come out and say this is the smartest man. Don't you get the sense that this is like a hostage tape for these staffers on the Tonight Show? Now, Jimmy Fallon's like, okay, you guys all have to come out. You got to write really nice things about Hillary because she's coming to the studio. We really want to do something nice for her. So they didn't just spontaneously come up with the idea to do these love letters to Hillary. I don't think so. Speaking of blurred lines, blurred thinking, Miley stick her tongue out and grind next to a man who is not her boyfriend or husband, as we saw in that famous video where she's, doing simulated sexual intercourse on stage. She was actually driven to tears. I think Miley Cyrus's braids are pulled too tight. Well, so she basically went on and on about Hillary acquits herself with such grace and poise, and young women look at Hillary for that grace and poise, and they're inspired to do better, be more gracious themselves.
Why aren't I 50 points ahead, you might ask? Well, the choice for working families has never been clearer.
I find it that did drive me to tears. 855-40 Laura. A lot of questions still remaining after the horrific attack in Las Vegas. The NRA has come out and said the bump stock, they didn't seem to have any problem with any regulation against bump stocks. Most people hadn't even heard of a bump stock, which allows a semi-automatic weapon to fire more like an automatic weapon, but
the other side has been so outright trying to politicize this tragedy that we did feel the need to speak out today on this whole bump stock issue. You know, for years have tried to correct the media on semi-automatics when they said they were fully automatic firearms, when Dianne Feinstein and Schumer and all the rest of them said they were machine guns. And what the NRA has said is we ought to take a look at that, see if it's in compliance with federal law, and it's worthy of additional regulation.
No, they're basically saying they're open to it. But man, Harvey Weinstein, we find out settled all of these sexual harassment complaints over the years, most lurid, disgusting behavior with women who thought they were going to get a big break in Hollywood. He's a big leftist, supporter of the Clintons over the years, good friends of the Clintons over the years. Turns out that he now says part of his rehabilitation is going to be going after the NRA and forcing Wayne LaPierre into retirement. So the left will take the help of a serial sexual harasser if the serial sexual harasser pledges to destroy the NRA. That's where we are in the country today. The NRA is the problem. It's not the fact that we have kicked God to the curb, that we have a polluted culture that highlights the darkest impulses of American society, whether it's in film or music or on billboards. None of that matters. All these killers come out of a vacuum. None of the cultural depravity that we've been talking about for decades, conservatives have been talking about for decades, none of that matters to the left. They think everyone comes out of this culture and they're just going to save puppies from trees. That's not how it works. But number one, there is evil that government cannot legislate against. There is evil that will commit unspeakable acts of evil. And there are also cultural indicators of darkened hearts. And we have a culture that's sadly much darker than it should be. That whether it's the way we teach history to young people, the way we tear down and allow the tearing down of our own history. Robert E. Lee one day, George Washington the next. They had no goodness in them whatsoever. That's what a lot of people think today. They are part of the white patriarchy that started us down this horrible, dark path as a country that needs to be remade. The President Obama used to talk about remaking America, making it a more perfect union. And yeah, by itself, a big deal. We always are striving to do better. It's a big deal. But when I heard him say that, I was concerned that what he was really talking about was jettisoning the greatest of American traditions and the real lessons of American history, continuing to divide us along racial lines, ethnic lines, and so forth. That's what I was worried about when Obama kept talking about the more perfect union. We're going to be remaking America.
Now, the great task of building a nation is never done. Here in America, more than 2 centuries since our independence, we're still working to perfect our union.
So negative. Well, you can't remain an independent country if you become a country without cultural virtue, one that celebrates true virtue, bravery, heroism, selflessness, sacrifice, modesty. It's funny to talk about modesty. You talk about the 7 deadly sins, but the virtues, modesty, the opposite of vanity. The antonym is vanity. Vain, you're modest. Modesty is one of those traits that you don't hear about much anymore. Girls are not supposed to dress modestly. If you succeed in doing something, you don't really You don't really need to be modest anymore. In fact, the more you crow about yourself, the better. And look, I'm in an industry where you have to promote yourself. And Raymond Roy always teases me because I never promote my own book. Like we have this big book tour coming up, and I've gone now an hour and 15 minutes. I haven't mentioned the book tour. I mean, I haven't promoted any of the stops because I don't like talking about myself. I like talking about America. I like hearing from you. But modesty. So Hillary's sitting there, and the show has to amplify her greatness back at her. I say truly great men and women, they're not looking for approval in the American media. They're not looking for that. They never look for that. They seek to do good. They seek to take care of their families. And the greatness of America is found in the individual who goes about his or her life in a virtuous manner without accolade. No accolades. No, not heralding your successes, not praising you to the hilt, but just doing the right thing. And we throw around the word hero way too casually. You know, Colin Kaepernick is considered a hero in American society today. Colin Kaepernick, who had the socks on that make police officers look like pigs. He's a hero. You're a hero if you are a person who says you're transgender and you demand that other people call you by supposedly your new gender. That is a hero today. You're a hero if you take on Wayne LaPierre and the NRA. You're a hero if you're Mika Brzezinski and you have the nerve to call out Donald Trump. You're a hero if you disrespect the office of the presidency, the individual, accuse him of every sin or fault that you could ever conceive of. In today's media society, you're a hero.
You have no idea what's going to happen next, but you know it's going to be incredibly embarrassing.
Take over the graphic.
You know he's going to.
You do.
You know that with every hour that goes by, he's going to embarrass the presidency. He's going to debase the presidency. He's going to bring it down a level lower and let these people suck up to him every day. And they feel it's part of their job to suck up to him, to placate him.
Mika Brzezinski is saying that not because she's really trying to help the country. She's saying that so she gets accolades. So she then fits comfortably in the Manhattan club of the Trump critics, of the elites the unwashed Donald Trump. I could never concede for a moment that he's done anything good for the country. But that's about her. You see what I'm saying? That's about her. She's saying that so then she's more accepted in the club. See, I don't look at things like that. I never have seen things like that. That's why I really, 20 years after being in the media, I'm just, I'm getting this television show. I'm excited about the show. But people say, why do you want to do the show? You've done all this stuff. Why do you want to do it? Someone said that to me the other day. They said, why are you going to put yourself doing a daily show? You've already done it. And my answer, maybe it sounds odd to people, but because I think I'm supposed to be doing it. I'm not trying to get all holy roller on people, but I think for some reason, I think I'm supposed to be doing this. And I hope something good comes of it for people. That's why I'm doing it. Yeah, it's nice to make money and all that. Yeah, it's fine. I don't need the money. I don't need the money. If I had to go back and, just get a workaday job as a working person, I could do that today and I would do it. I really believe there's dignity in every job. Every work, there's dignity. Now, I'm blessed. I get to do this, but I'm not going to be accepted by doing this job. I'm going to be, as O'Reilly told me yesterday, you will be a target like you've never been before because you are doing this show. I believe I have to do the show. Not because I think I'm great, not because I think I'm the best of the best. And I don't think any of that. I'm doing it because I think I should do it. Modesty. How do you keep yourself modest? How do we encourage a culture of modesty and a social media culture that elevates those who really shouldn't be elevated, or the actions that shouldn't be elevated. So how do you retain modesty in a society like today? 855-40-LAURA. It's an interesting conversation for Friday. We started off somewhere else, and I took it to a different location and to a different place, and that's what I want to do in this show. We'll take a break. We have a lot more to get to. We're going to talk to a former special ops intelligence analyst about what we know now about Stephen Paddock and what we still don't know and why don't we know it. Have you ever felt tricked or deceived into buying something? Nothing is worse than being lied to by a salesman. Well, many timeshare owners know exactly that feeling. If you made a big mistake and bought a timeshare you now regret, there's hope for you out there. You can finally undo that crooked contract and start putting that money back into your wallet. Why keep paying for something you no longer want to use? If you want out of that timeshare forever, contact my friends at resortrelease.com. They'll legally and permanently end that timeshare contract, guaranteed. That's a money-back guarantee, and if you don't get out of your timeshare, you don't pay a penny. They're Better Business Bureau accredited, A+ rated, and they get the job done. So stop paying for that timeshare you felt like you were scammed into purchasing. Visit resortrelease.com or call 855-66-LAURA. That's 855-66-LAURA. 2018's maintenance fee bills will arrive any day now. Get out now before you pay that fee. Visit resortrelease.com or call them at 855-66-LAURA to see if you qualify. How many of you have just totally tuned out the Hollywood crowd? I have. I mean, that's Seth Meyers. I never thought he was funny when he was on Saturday Night Live. I didn't like his weekend updates. I'm just saying it's a matter of humor. I never liked him. Never liked it. It wasn't my thing. And I didn't think he was funny. I mean, I like Dan Aykroyd. He was funny. Cowboy Bob. Is that your stage name? In California. Go ahead.
No, that's my occupation.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Anyways, Laura, which is my daughter's name, by the way, who's 17. Yeah. And the reason why you should take that gig on TV is because the country and our conservative population need to hear the message that you and others present, and not in an apologetic way, as if Paul Ryan were doing it.
Well, I appreciate that. Pray for me, because I'll need it. Every word that I say on the radio, every word that you or I utter on television is transcribed by a cadre of left-wing activists who are just waiting for that moment. Well, they'll be able to cut the tape, send out the digital file, and say, see, aha, I told you so. Because they're the only ones who are allowed, they're the only ones who are allowed to have any moments of error in judgment, any moment of, well, I would have phrased that differently. See, they're the only ones who can have that. Now, if you're a conservative, you can never make a mistake. If you do, you're drummed out of office. You see that Tim Murphy, that Congressman Murphy, who is a big pro-life champion. I guess he had an extramarital relationship. He's resigning Congress. The Republicans rushed to resign. Don't you notice that? They rushed to resign. And the Democrats, Menendez, he's going to just stay in office. Charlie Rangel, his condos down in the Dominican Republic. Bill Clinton goes on to be a global superstar. But Republicans they rushed to resign. Modesty. How do we encourage modesty in young women in our culture today, where it's Facebook and it's Instagram and it's Snapchat 24/7? How do we foster an idea of modesty? Don't go away. Great news, ladies and gentlemen. Chamonix has extended this crazy Genucel warehouse clearance sale. You call them right now, and you'll get double your order of Genucel free. I'll be traveling with Genucel on my book tour. I have 3 different Genucel products that I travel with. 3. One's one's for neck cream. Then I have the eye cream, and I also have the Esotique RF, which is the firming serum. I love them all. I travel as many as I can. But the Genucel is just a natural plant stem cell treatment, has those advanced peptides, and that tackles the pesky bags and puffiness under your eyes. It also has a great 60-day, 100% money-back guarantee, and you get all these special free gifts along the way, the deep firming serum that I mentioned, And also, if you call in the next 20 minutes, you get a free 2-month supply of that Esotique RF, and it's a popular wrinkle treatment. You're going to love it. It's your fourth gift, basically for free. Call them at 800-480-5206. Skincare done right. That's 800-480-5206. I don't believe it. I mean, if knowing what I know now about this, unless someone really shows me definitive proof as to the fact that he didn't get help, I'm saying he got help. That's how I would approach it. Let me rule it out, because a 64-year-old out of shape man who looked like he couldn't walk a quarter of a mile without keeling over is somehow running between gun positions. To me, that seems very unlikely. I still want to see all the video footage and coming in and out of that room. I want to know how many times he left the room and if anyone was in the room with him. I want to see him check into that hotel. They have all these selective leaks of the photos. But meanwhile, we don't know what was in that note that was left in his room. We don't have any real clarity on what his companion said, except, oh, no, she didn't have anything to do with it. We still haven't had any follow-up on the supposed woman on the ground during the concert who said, you're all going to die tonight. What happened to that? I mean, you never even hear about that anymore. And then we have the people at the concert who called into talk radio, and they said they are absolutely 100% certain there were two shooters and that some of the firing was coming from a lower floor. Now, I don't know if any of that holds water, but I do say there's way too much out there to indicate that you can rule things out at this point, in my view. 855-40-LAURA. Am I just being paranoid? I don't want to be paranoid about this, but just because someone in a uniform says something doesn't mean it's true. And I think that Joseph Lombardo, when he used the word radicalization, and when he said, I don't know, this guy isn't Superman, I'm paraphrasing, but that raised a red flag in my mind. In just a moment, we're going to go to our next guest who has some expertise that is relevant to this analysis. Let's go to Don in Florida. Well, sorry about that. Hillary in Utah. Let's go to Hillary very quickly before we get to our next guest. Go ahead.
Hi. I was calling about your comment about modesty. I believe that modesty is a standard and a value that starts in the home by not only a parent's example, but opening up that dialogue with your child and having talks about what you're seeing in the media, what you see. I mean, what I see at school, let alone not only the kids, the girls and the boys that dress, but their parents.
How about the way the mothers dress? Hillary, how about the way the mothers dress when they come to school pickup? You ever seen that?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, too many times, yeah.
Short shorts. I love the short shorts on the mothers, and all of a sudden they wonder why the daughter's dressing that way. It drives me crazy. Drives me crazy. But you know what I do at my house, Hillary? I'm going to sound like I'm going to sound like Little House on the Prairie, Laura Ingalls here. But we actually have a tape measure, and I measure from the knee to the bottom of the skirt for my daughter. And if it doesn't meet, I can't remember what it is. It just we have it marked on the tape measure. Too short? Not leaving the house. And I say, sweetie, the way you dress sends a message to the rest of the world about what you value and who you are. And guess what? The message you're sending is, I'm holding on to my power. And modesty is really important. So God calls us to be modest. It's hard because in our society today, these kids are taught to be braggarts, to post if they go on a cool vacation, post on social. I'm here and you're not. I'm out with the cool crowd and you're not. It's the opposite of modesty. And it's all over. It's in checkout line at the grocery store. It's on billboards. It's in music. The modesty, people look at you like, what? Yeah, modesty. Chastity? Oh, forget it. Chastity's more out the window than the modesty. And people are going to think I'm a throwback. I'm not a throwback. I'm pretty, I'm talking about myself now. I'm pretty cool. Not that cool, but I'm okay. Oh, boy. We're going to go to Brett Velakovich. Am I getting this right? Velakovich. Brett, how are you? Good to talk to you.
Laura, thanks for having me. Congrats on the book. Congrats on the new show on Fox.
Thanks, man.
Crush it.
I appreciate that. Are you Polish, Russian? What's your background? Slavic?
Serbian.
Ah. Yeah. Don't mess
but
with
American all the way.
All right. Well, don't mess with this, and don't mess with the Americans of Serbian descent. That's all I could say. Serbs are tough. They're tough. I know a lot of Serbs.
Oh yeah.
I know a lot of Serbs. Number one, and I'm talking about making generalizations, but I think it's okay to generalize if it's a positive generalization. So right. I think the Serbs that I've gotten to know over the last 10 years are all tall. I don't know if you're tall, but they're tall, and they're gorgeous. I mean, I just happen to a lot of girls, nanny type, gorgeous, and really strong families. Is that out of line to say that, Brett? I hope not. But I really
about your modesty comments just a few minutes ago. I don't know how I can say yes to all that, but I do have a strong family. Yes, for sure.
Okay. Well, I like the Serbs anyway. Brett, you're former special ops intelligence analyst and intelligence analyst for the U.S. Army. And you've been watching the coverage, the selective information that's come out about this shooter. What stands out about this narrative that might raise some antenna for you?
Well, there's a lot of things that stood out, and I got to tell you, when I first saw the Vegas attacks, my heart just bled for these victims. I've spent more time at war over the years than anyone should have to over their lifetime, and I just think, how is it that myself and other veterans survived all of that, only to come back and see that we're at war back home? And so it was a terrible thing to see. I mean, these are things that are saved for typically war zones. But when I look at all this, I don't necessarily fall under the argument that he had more than that there was someone else helping him. I'm not sure that we can yet rule the wife out as a potential somebody that knew a lot more than she leads on to. But at the same time, look, I've spent a lot of time, hunting and killing terrorists, and I will tell you that it doesn't take a lot for them to wreak havoc if they want to. If it's not a gun, it's a homemade bomb. If it's not a bomb, it's a car. And you can kill a lot of people with really not much training, unfortunately, the way that things work in the world.
The thing that surprised me from the beginning is that just hours after the attack, they still had the bodies on the scene. They had moved certain bodies, for what reason, I don't know. But by the time we went on the air on Monday morning, they were already ruling out any political motivation, any religious affiliation, and definitively stating that he was a lone wolf. That, to me, was odd.
What was odd, I think, in particular, was the political motivation. I don't think we can yet rule that out. We just don't know enough about it. And it's very interesting to me, after the last couple of days, that we really don't know much information than what we really started with, and that's what's wild about it. And now, obviously we've been talking about it over the last few days, but this, broken record that is the gun control debate is now waging already before people have even, healed from their wounds in the hospital.
Well, I think that, again, if there was a hint that this guy was a Republican or politically conservative, and it was a crowd of, more liberal type people, maybe hip hop concerts, we would have heard a lot about his motive. I just think I've never met anybody who has no political affiliation or no religious affiliation. He's never voted either, really? I just find that to be odd.
I mean, you're absolutely right. Well, one of the things, honestly, when I looked at it, when I heard the brother talk, that told me all I needed to know about this guy. I mean, just total nut job. The family is definitely a bit crazy. What his father was a bank robber, I believe.
They didn't live together.
Yeah, when I see that, I think that people are searching for a motive, but we're not necessarily searching for a label. I mean, he is a terrorist, but at the same time, I don't know that we're going to find some huge smoking gun that says, yep, this was politically motivated, or this was Republican versus Democrat. And quite frankly, I hate to even see that debate, rage on, because to me, at this time, what we need to become is united as a country more than ever.
I'd never heard of a bump stock device before this. I guess it looks like we'll outlaw those. That's what it looks like it will happen. How safe will that then keep us?
It won't keep us safe. I mean, look, that seems this whole bump stock idea, that sounds like a feel-good story for the Democrats to tell themselves they're accomplishing something. But the truth is, over the last 6 years, there's been over 100 laws introduced to legislature to basically, focus on gun control, most of which didn't even make it to the House or Senate floors, and none of which we even passed. So we did nothing after Sandy Hook, we did nothing after Orlando, and we're going to do nothing after Vegas. And when I think about the whole bump stock thing, look, we have a phrase in the military and the special operations community that's called a self-licking ice cream cone. And to me, that's what this debate is. It's, yes, these Democrats are telling themselves that they are accomplishing something, and they're saying, yes, look at this great job that we're doing, and in the end, it accomplishes nothing. And we spend years focusing on this when really the focus should not be on the guns at all. It should be on the people behind them and the hate that's developed in their hearts over the years for what we're seeing, all around us.
The government can't legislate against every problem. Every problem doesn't have a government solution. I've been saying that all week. I'll repeat it until I die. We somehow think we can be saved from all evil. We can't be. You can have a quicker reaction time when a gunshot rings out. You could teach people what to do when they're under attack and make that kind of reflexive for people, so maybe they have a better chance of surviving. But the government will not be able to save everyone in a situation like this.
You're right. Look, I spent a lot of time overseas. You go overseas, you go to Africa, you go to these hotels. Everyone's got metal detectors. Can't even walk into a hotel without everything being searched. You go to Israel,
I don't like that.
They live in a state of security. They live in a constant state of fear.
I don't want it.
Well, it takes away our freedoms, and that's the terrible part about this is that
I don't want it.
It's not going to change just by outlawing some bump stocks. People are going to figure out how to get around it if they want to.
We love having you on. Thank you so much for joining us, for your service to this country, Brett. We'll have you back for sure. Great to talk to you here on the Laura Ingraham Show. 855-40-LAURA. The conversation went from how do we encourage modesty in our young people to how do we deal with evil as a people. Do you deal with it with a government solution, faith, real honest conversations with your family? I've had to talk to my kids about this because they're seeing it on the news when I'm watching the news. Well, how do you deal with it? And what do you say to your children about something like this? We'll take a break, get your reaction.